Welcome everybody to this GDHQ level design build tutorial. This is actually taken from a pro workshop that we do. We host pro workshops twice a week, every week, once on Tuesdays and once on Thursdays. You could log into for free and watch us build something cool inside of Unity. So for this instance, we were working on the alien invasion level that we created using only Filebase assets that are from GDHQ. Now, for those of you who don't know who we are or what we do, we are an independent company that is trying to create a revolutionary system that provides artwork, education, and coding challenges and training to help people succeed in becoming amazing game developers. And one of the tools that we use, one of the tools that we created, which has become almost essential in anything we build, is Filebase. Now, what exactly is Filebase? Filebase is a tool that has been integrated inside of Unity. It sits inside of the browser. You download it and you install it. Then once you sign up for a pro membership, you are able to access all of the assets inside of Filebase. How many assets are we talking about? Well, we're talking about thousands. Right now, we currently sit at 800 and I believe 40 asset packs. Some are single, some have 25 items, 30 items in there. So it could easily add up to over somewhere in the range of 1,500 individual game assets that you can apply inside of your video game. Now, what are the terms and conditions of our Filebase usage? It's pretty simple. Commercial use, but we don't allow redistribution. So those are the only real restrictions, but we really want you to build games using Filebase. So how do you get it? So go to GameDevHQ.com/Filebase and then click the Download Now button right here at the top. Once you click the Download Now button, a Unity 1.3 package should show up in your Downloads folder. All you have to do is either double click that or drag that into your Unity project tab, and all the package information will then begin to import in. Make sure you import all the package info. Once that's installed, you may get an error here or there. It's no big deal. Go to Window, and inside of here is a Filebase tab. Just click on that Filebase monkey right there, and it's going to ask to update. We always push you to update to the latest version of Filebase. So import that in, and once that is done, you're going to want to restart your Filebase window. So right now there is that failed to load. Just click on that little, I guess, drop down right here, and just close the tab. And then once you're done with that, reopen Filebase one more time. And now it's going to load from the new database. Now your view may look different now because we have updated this, but inside it's generically the same. We have all of our assets listed out, 3D, 2D, VFX, audio. That's all the assets that are available to download inside of your Unity project. To find the particular asset that we want to look for, all you have to do is type in a description, a keyword into the list, and it will pull from the metadata. So for this instance, we're going to start looking at roads, particularly the quadrant sections of roads. And we have found one that we really want, which is Road 04. So what we're going to do is we want to find all the Road 04 elements that are connected. And of course, you could see once we click on the thumbnail, you could see a larger image of what it is you're going to be downloading. But for this instance, I'm going to search for Road 04. Inside of here, I should be able to see all the road segments. So we have the straight and the angled, different angles, corners, quads, etc., etc. So to bring this into your Unity project, all you have to do is click the download button. And once it's downloaded in, it will go and be dropped into a particular Filebase hierarchy. Be sure you don't move assets out of this. You want to keep this hierarchy the same so that when we do run updates, it will make sure that it updates the correct asset. So then all you have to do is drop in that asset and boom, you're done. You don't even have to build a road anymore. All you need to do is grab it and place it inside of your scene. Now we did have to adjust the scale factor in this particular project. I think some of our roads are a little off. So just adjust your scale factor of your road to 0.5. Once that's done, We're going to go ahead and try to download and import the rest of the road segments that we're going to want, which in this case, we're going to want to download and import road 04 straight. And we're going to add straight segments throughout this particular area. Now, some people may not know this, but there is such a thing as a vector vector positioning. So if you hold your V key, the letter V, like is in Victor, on your keyboard with the movement positioning button set up, it will actually snap your item as a vector. And if you want to rotate with a little more precision, if you hold the control button while you're holding the rotate, you will actually rotate in 15 degree segments, which is kind of nice so that you're not dipping into the float values. So now we're just going to go ahead and duplicate these straight roads and place them on all 4 quadrant sides using the vector snapping for the position, and if we need to, rotating the street element so that the road lines line up. Excellent. Once that is done, I like to create an empty game object, and I am going to place these assets under this empty game object, making sure that we reset the values to 0, 0, 0, and then grabbing our roads and dropping them underneath this. And then we're going to just rename this game object to street. Next, I'm going to do a keyword search, and I can use the word urban or city or buildings to find assets that would relate to, of course, a building or city or some sort of urban environment. For this case, I'm going to use this asset called building 02. It looks like 18 megabytes inside. So now that we have building 02 placed inside our scene, all we have to do is just drop it in. And then from here, we're going to just go to our top view, and we're going to set it from our regular camera view to, instead, we're going to press the square inside the center of our box, and that's going to turn it to a parallel view of the scene, which will give us a nice shot of how the grid lines are going to look in this particular street scene. Then all I have to do is grab that particular building and just start placing it throughout and rotating it 90 degrees here or there to make sure that the buildings alternate in size and shape. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and add another building into our scene. In this case, we're going to add in building 03, which is kind of a large cement warehouse. And we're going to drop that into our scene. We may adjust the scales just a tad bit, and then we're just going to reposition these buildings to be in the city, but kind of offset and variant to add a little variation. Next, we're going to go add a different building into our scene so that we can alternate. And what we're going to add is building number 1. And building 1 is really nice because it is a modular building, which means that there are segments to this building that we can stack upon each other to create different variations of the same building. So all you have to really do is turn on and off which element you want in your inspector and then stack it the way you would like. So if you want to hide that particular segment, just click the enable or disable button and it will hide that particular segment of the building. And then if you are ready to, you can grab the hotel sign and just move it and place it where you think it would fit perfectly inside your game composition. Then once that's completed, I can then take building number 1 and I can duplicate it and move it onto the other side of the street. And then I can alter this particular building, changing the rotation, changing the segments, maybe adding a destroyed element or hiding a sign, so that even though it is technically the same asset, it is varied enough to where the common everyday user would not notice. So all I have to do is just grab that top segment right here, line it up into position so that the two parts meet. Then go ahead and make sure I set the roof onto this asset, and then we will be done. Once we place all the buildings that we wanted to, let's go ahead and grab the gas station assets, and we're going to start with the gas station store, and we're going to set this into our scene. Then we're just going to rotate it and place it. I think we need to scale it just a little bit because it came in a little too large. And then once we have done that, we're also going to add in the gas station overhang and the gas station pumps and possibly the gas station sign to fill our scenes. Once you do have all your gas station assets placed within your scene, be sure you create an empty game object and drop them under that gas station asset so that it again keeps that hierarchy really clean. Next, we want to go add in a street light to make the street seem a little less barren. So just type in street light and click the download. Go ahead and grab that, drop it into your scene. And then we're just going to adjust the scaling and size just slightly and go ahead and position these at the edge of your streets, 3 at a time, and we'll set this up so that it looks like an actual road. Once those street lights have been placed into your scene, you're going to want to also add in some stop signs near those crosswalks. So now we're going to go ahead and litter our street with some trash bags. So all you have to do is just type in the word trash, and we have 2 or 3 different alternative trash bags. We have trash cans, we have cans that are meant for an urban environment, or we have, the big dumpsters as well. In this instance, we're going to go ahead and grab trash bag 02, which has 3 variants of a trash bag, and we're going to just start placing them within the scene. So what I would do is just drop all 3 into your scene and then scale them down a little bit. They're a little big. Go to your top view, and you can use this as a way to just kind of place these individual trash bags all throughout. I would also gather different trash variants and place them so that it's obvious that it's not just a repetitious usage of the same asset. You may also want to select the trash bags and do some sort of random rotation on them so that they all don't face the same direction. Again, once you place all those trash bags into your scene, be sure to drop them underneath one game object so it's a little easier to keep your scene organized. After that, we're going to want to add in some concrete barriers that are going to blockade the ends of the streets. Look for barricades. You can find those in Filebase under barricades. So go ahead and drop these in, adjust the scale if you need to, and then we're going to just position these by duplicating these and randomly adjusting the angles of them to kind of create that concrete form structure that keeps aliens or zombies out. Not only do we have concrete barricades, but we also have police blockades too. And you can just type in the word police, and we got a couple assets named specifically for them. And go ahead and drop those in to one end of either scene or either side of the street. You can just set those in. That'd be a pretty cool thing to throw on in for additional detail. Finally, this is going to be kind of a part of a VR scene, and we want a place where we can actually pull weapons out so that we could shoot these aliens. So we do have these great crates, these military crates that you could use, that you could drop into your scene and just set them up in a different position. We're going to place these at the end of our road, and our player is actually going to stand directly behind these crates, and so they'll be able to pull the new asset out of them when they have enough money to purchase it, kind of like a Call of Duty Zombies kind of mode. So we're just going to set these crates right in front of the player so they have easy access. They won't have to reach very far to grab a new item if they have enough money. I'm going to set one black, or not black, but green military case right in the front. And I'm going to set 2 side wooden crates on the sides. And these are more like a tier system. Which crate is going to be more expensive gives you the better weapon. Then to add a little more relevancy or realism to this scene, let's go ahead and add some sandbags into this so that it looks like an actual barrier or blockade. So go ahead and grab the sandbags. If you type in or search military, you should be able to find them, or just type in sandbags. And we're just going to wrap these around our little blockade here. And this is going to form kind of our protective wall against the incoming onslaught of aliens. Finally, behind that, we're going to set a police car. Of course, you can just search police. We're going to set that behind our player, and that's going to be kind of the, after the waves of enemies have been destroyed, our end goal situation. So we're just going to place that police car right at the back of the street, and we'll be able to enter and exit those as we need to. But right now, it's just more for decorations. Finally, this wouldn't be a destroyed or wrecked environment unless we had wrecked assets that we could place throughout our scene. So we got a couple really good ones here. We have wrecked car parts, and we also have wrecked cars. So I would suggest downloading these, and what we could do is take these assets and start dropping them throughout our scene, similar to how we dropped in the trash bags. We're just going to go ahead and lay in the first set, get them scaled in size right. Then we go to a top perspective, and we just simply place and rotate all of our assets throughout our scene. We can also use these wrecked cars as a sort of blockade, and it can also end up being a great spawn point system for a lot of our enemies. So if you want them to pop out from, let's say, behind a wrecked car or behind a building, it allows them to occur without obstructing the field of view or just popping into scene for the player. For alien invasion, we're probably going to need some alien ships. So we got a couple of those as well. So just type in alien, and we're just going to select alien ship 01. And we're just going to go ahead and grab that thing and plop it into our scene and rotate it slightly and position it so that it's above the gas station or above the buildings, but they're in field of view. And we'll add a couple more just to give our scene a little more depth, and we'll push them a little further back so that we could see them further into the distance. So this city looks a little dead. We need a little vegetation, a little life. And we have some trees that can help you along with that. So if you search for Cypress Tree 02, we can grab this tree, and we're just going to start placing this around the corner areas on some of the street areas, and it's going to be a great piece to kind of fill in a lot of empty areas inside of our city environment. And just these few trees really make this whole entire scene come to life. Now, what we're going to do at this point is we're going to go ahead and grab some 2D elements. Now, there is a cobblestone and a ground texture. We're going to grab a dirt 2D texture, but before we use the dirt, we're going to just build a few planes. We're going to set those right in those cornered areas, and that's where basically our buildings are going to sit. So I created a 3D game object that's just a plane, and we're just fitting it into these areas. Just guesstimating best sizes at this point. And then we're going to go into searching for dirt, and we're going to find the texture dirt 02. Just click download and drop this into your scene as well. Now, once you have that texture downloaded, you just want to grab that particular material and drop it onto your plane. And that's how easy it is, folks. That's how easy it really is. Now we'll just go ahead and duplicate these planes, and we'll set these into that same area with all the four corners of this particular map. Now, we don't really build our own HDRIs. There are plenty of resources to grab an HDRI or a background image that will represent the color of what we have in our scene. So there's two places that we would definitely recommend you guys check out. There's HDRI Haven and Texture Haven. These are both free resources. These guys are funded through Patreon, and if you can support them, it would be greatly appreciated. Their work is fantastic, and they've dedicated a lot of their time and effort to build these things. And we want to make sure that if they are being used in commercial use, if you could pay it forward, that would be awesome. So for us, we love using these HDRIs, and we think they're very high quality. So we're going to go ahead and grab one of these HDRIs, and this is going to be our skybox background. This is going to be our environment instead of the procedural one that currently exists in Unity. So we're going to scroll down and find a particular one that really works. And what I'm looking for is primarily a city environment that gives me that the quad feel. And I believe this particular texture would work perfectly for that. So you just scroll down and grab, either a 2K or 4K or 8K. It really depends on if you're going to really have your viewers look at the environment. If it's meant to be a visual point, then you want a higher resolution. If not, you can keep it lower and you'll just still pull the data out. For us, we're just going to be using it for lighting's purposes. So just grab that HDR image and drop it into your asset folder. Now, we can't make this HDR work unless we do a couple little things, and then it will function correctly. The first thing we need to do is we need to create a skybox material. So how do we create a skybox material? Well, you just create a brand new material under Create and choose Material. Then let's go ahead and call it something. So in this case, we're going to call it Skybox 2. And inside of here, we need to change the shader. Only skyboxes can use a skybox shader. They can't use any other type of shader. So in the drop down, when you click on this, there are a whole bunch of options to choose from. And inside of here, we have 4 different options. For this instance, we are going to use panoramic, which is that HDR image, the way it's currently set up. And then we're going to go ahead and grab that texture that we downloaded, and we're going to drop that in to our spherical HDRI. And now you can see kind of a quick preview of what that skybox looks like in our preview window. Then we're going to take our skybox 2, and under Windows, Rendering, and Light Settings, there is a little tab called Skybox Material. We're just going to go ahead and grab that Skybox 02, and we can drop that into our Skybox Material slot. And voila, here is, you notice that our background changed, our lighting changed in our scene, and also we have all these additional buildings to kind of sell the idea that we're inside a major metropolitan area. Now, there are neat little tabs inside the Skybox 02. One is for the exposure, and you'll see that as you change the exposure of your HDRI, the bake information on all assets inside of your scene adjusts as well accordingly, which is really nice. Another really neat thing is you can adjust the rotation tab. So for this instance, we have this street alleyway that we want to rotate, so that way the street doesn't end on a building, so to speak. Next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and install our post-processing plugin from our package manager, which can be found in Windows Package Manager. Once you've installed the post-processing plugin inside Unity, we're going to use this to kind of adjust the color temperature. We're going to use this to adjust the color theory behind this, give this more of a visual effects movie-like view rather than what it currently exists. To start, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and create a game object, an empty game object, and we're going to call this post-processing. And this is going to be the layer that affects everything post-processing wise. And inside of this, we're going to search for post. And inside we have 3 different options. We have a layer, a debug, and a volume. For this, we want to choose volume. Once we've selected the volume, we want to make sure that we turn our layer into post-processing. And if you haven't created a post-processing layer, click the Add Layer, and inside just type in post-processing. And then once that's done, click on your post-processing and make sure it's set to post-processing in the Layer tab. Once that's completed, all we have to do now is add the post-processing layer onto our camera, and our camera is now going to search for any post-processing system that will exist on a particular layer. And for that layer, we need to choose our custom-made post-processing layer. Finally, click on your profile and create a brand new profile. But first, you're going to want to make sure and test it and see if this is functional. One thing I did forget to mention is that you're going to want to make sure you set your post-processing volume to global. That way, the post-processing effect will affect everything globally instead of in just a small location based on a collider. Now, for this particular tutorial, we wanted, or this particular VR level, we wanted to get something that had that Book of Eli look, that desaturated but high contrast look. There was some color tone involved. It had a overlay to it that really gave it that washed out Fallout tone to it. And it made everything beautiful yet dead at the same time. So we're going to use that Book of Eli as our color grading inspiration on what we want to hit. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to go to our color grading tab, and there's a couple different modes that we could choose from, but we're going to stick to neutral, and we're only going to enable the things that actually matter to us. So what we do know is we want a low saturation, so we brought ours down to a -43. Then also we wanted to adjust some other features as well. We wanted to go into our contrast, and based off of our reference image, we know that the contrast has to be bumped up to really kind of match that style, which is nice to actually put that image on your right hand side or wherever it is on your screen so you can easily look back and forth between the two. We also adjusted the exposure a little bit, and we could quickly see how just those small little changes in post-processing added quite a bit to our shot, but we're not nearly close to being done. Now we're going to go into our color wheel, and we're going to adjust some of these values for our lift, our gamma, and our gain. Next, we want to go ahead and add in some ambient occlusion using post-processing, and that's quickly just as easily as downloading the ambient in. We're also going to change it to scalable ambient occlusion so that the ambient occlusion up close isn't nearly as intense as it is afar. Then we're going to add in a little bit of grain into our scene. Not a lot. It's a really low intensity, and I would also recommend keeping it uncolored, but rather just black and white. And it gives it that kind of Silent Hill type of graininess in your scene, which is also, it's really good for hiding gradients in your shot. Then we're going to jump on over to a vignette, which is a lens distortion created by the casing of the lens, and we're going to go ahead and add that into our shot. We're simply just going to add in the intensity, and we can adjust the intensity, and you can kind of see the overall effect that occurs. We're going to go for something less drastic than that, though. Here we add in some effects. So if you go to Create Effects Particle System, you can add in a particle system into your scene. And we're going to use this to add in some smoke, dust, haze, noise kind of thing. We want the scene to have that, that dusty movement all across. This particle system is an older system, but it still works pretty well. And to get this to kind of applied in the way we want it to, we just have to make a couple tiny adjustments. First thing we're going to do is make sure that we pre-warm our particles, so that way when we press play, they're always playing at a full amount rather than just starting at that initial moment. Next thing we do is we're going to adjust the speed of our particle. Then we're going to change the shape to a box. And then we will rotate the box sideways so that it looks like the dust haze is pushing across our city. Let's then go into our shape box, our shape drop down, and we'll adjust the shape itself to give it some more height and Z depth and width to fill up our entire scene. We're going to go ahead and drag that over to the far side of our map, and we're going to want the lifetime of all these particles to increase so that they basically float from one end of the screen all the way to the other. Then in here, we're going to adjust the alpha level of all of our particles to be really low. And we're going to go ahead and turn off the selection outline in the gizmos so that it's a little easier to see how the particles look in scene. Then we'll go ahead and adjust the size of the particles. And as you can see, we quickly made this really neat dust storm with just a very simple effect. So we hope you enjoyed this Alien Invasion quick course of what we did during the pro workshops. This is a compressed version of the 2-day plus pro workshop that we did. And if you want to test the product out and you are a pro member, all you have to do is go on to Filebase and click download. We make sure that all of our assets are available, whether they're starting or whether they're finished levels, to our members. Now, for those of you who have never heard of GDHQ and want to sign up, we are going to give you a free little bonus, a 15-minute course that teaches you how to do a first-person zombie shooter. You will not find that anywhere else in the internet world, and we are glad to share that product with you. Now, for those of you who want to step beyond simply just a free course and you want to hear more about what our pro membership offers, full streaming access to all of our GDHQ courses. That means current courses and additional content and new content. They all go onto our platform first. We have a streaming service available. Also, we have a complete file-based access to all of our assets. This includes levels, characters, plugins, VFX, 3D models, 2D models, whatever. At the time, it was only $10,000 worth of assets. Now it's at least quadruple the price. And now we also do 2 workshops every single week, and those go into a vault, which is pretty exciting, and you get a huge discount on the Epic courses. So for how much do you pay for all of this? $25 a month or $220 a year. Rounds out, if you do the yearly price, $18 a month. You can't get that deal anywhere else on the internet. We've tried to look, we can't find it. We're looking to help you guys become amazing game developers, so we're building tools to help you guys get there. We're building training to help you guys get there. We don't have to sell you on anything though. If you don't believe us, hop onto our Discord channel, ask around. We know that our pro members will vouch for this because they have told us time and time again that it is an awesome package that they're getting. Thank you again for tuning in. We will have more pro live summary courses coming out on YouTube very soon. Thanks for sticking through this, and if you have any questions, please let us know or come talk to us or hop onto our Discord. We're always waiting and willing to help you. This is Al, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.